Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to the Ango Show. It is April 1st, 2025. Silly Billy and Ango are here to kick off the show on April Fool's Day.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Where'd the Silly Billy thing come from? Why is that a thing? I seen it. I seen it yesterday.
I don't know. I was just messing around and it's funny. So now we're going to start calling you Silly Billy.
Very, very interesting. So now I get to be Silly Billy. Cool. I'm with it. Silly Billy's here. Happy April Fool's Day.
Silly Billy TKO is joining us here on the Ango Show. It is the start to a new month. And as always, I'm super excited to be doing this live stream. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Obviously, yesterday we had WWE Raw, which was a very, very good episode. And I did a post show. Billy did a watch along. It is very rare that I do post shows, so we're not going to review the show in particular, like segment by segment or anything like that. We have a variety of things we're going to talk about, and of course, we like to drive the conversation forward with you guys in the chat. So we're going to talk about the things that you guys want to discuss today, as well as some of the things that we want to discuss today. But most importantly, you guys can help drive the conversation further. We do have our super chat goal. God, dude,
I'm Silly Billy, huh? This guy's Silly Billy.
Silly Ango. But we do have our super chat goal active. Also, maybe you guys didn't see this. You're probably wondering, why is there like this mug on my screen?
Yeah, what's going on there?
There's something called a hype jar, and I tested it out yesterday. So basically, every time there's like new members or super chats, you fill the jug, I guess. And I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. Yesterday we were doing it, and you fill it up. So if you guys want to drive the conversation forward and you guys got questions or comments or anything you guys want to talk about that you want guaranteed read and responded to, just consider dropping a super chat, whatever it may be. Couple shout outs. I just want to say shout out to Darth Bane, Cedric's in the chat, Phil Batway, Vic Woods, Chester, David Decker, Billy That Kid 22, Lon Reyes. Shout out to everybody. Let's try to fill up that mug, huh? I think that would be kind of cool. I don't know, bro. It was so funny because yesterday doing the show, we were filling it up, and then sometimes, like, I don't know if it's like an issue with the animation, but like somebody dropped a super chat, and then the thing that goes in the jug or the mug or whatever you want to call it, like it didn't fall into it. I don't know. It was so funny. But it's a really cool thing, and it's a hype jar. So the more hype that we get, obviously, the better, and it tells us that we're doing a good job with our show, which obviously we always appreciate that. But it is an interesting day because I did talk about it in my video that I dropped this morning, and I kind of want to start off with this. We had a article come out by BJ Bethel. He released it on SEScoops.com, and basically it was the reveal of the AEW on Max numbers. And of course, the AEW sickos, like the really, really hardcore, really crazy, ridiculous people on social media, are just touting this as a massive win for AEW. And then you have the E-drones, which are the very, very psychotic hardcore WWE fan accounts that also hide behind avatars. This is basically, when I think of E-drones and the sickos, I think of people who hide their face and they talk about wrestling in a very hardcore way. They drive the tribalism online. And you can't really pay too much attention to it because I genuinely believe it's all disingenuous. But of course, a lot of people are taking this as a massive win for AEW. And I actually talked about it in my video. I said, if these numbers are accurate, I think that is a very good indication that AEW being on Max has been a very, very big win for them. Like that TV deal, like basically for those who don't know, the numbers came out by this person, obviously didn't reveal sources, but this individual came out and said that AEW is about 500,000 viewers on Max within the first 24 hours of the show being active. So obviously I look at this, if the numbers are accurate, I said it in my video, I think this is a really good thing for AEW because not only does it show that the partnership with Warner Bros. Discovery is great for them, but it goes to show you that there is an audience on that actual app. And one of the things that doesn't get talked about, Billy, and this is why I really want to talk about this conversation today, but the thing that doesn't really get talked about with AEW is the fact that the max numbers have been a secret. And I think a lot of fans say, well, it's just numbers. Like, why do you care? Well, for me, I care because I'm an analytical guy. So, like, Billy knows this as well. But I'm very, very in tune with the analytics of my YouTube dashboard and, like, my Twitch dashboard and TikTok and Twitter. Like, I look at analytics every day. There's millions and millions and millions of views that watch the Ango show. There's over, like, 800,000 regular viewers in the span of like a 2-month period or something like that. So 800,000 individual people. Like, it's crazy numbers. And it's just fascinating to me because then it's like, okay, well, that shows that you have an opportunity, right? If you have 800,000 viewers in the span of 2 months, that shows that you have 800,000 individual accounts that could potentially subscribe. Okay, well, why do I only have 78,000 subscribers and not 800,000? Well, maybe not everybody of those people actually subscribe to channels or whatever it may be. There's a lot of things that you could do with the data that you're given. So to me, when I look at AEW on Max, it's not, 500,000 viewers is good or it's bad. To me, this is an app that has 150 million people. If AEW only has 30,000 viewers on this app, that's a big problem. And maybe that's a problem with Warner Bros. Not putting it on the front page all the time. Maybe that's an issue with the advertising and the marketing or whatever it may be. So if we finally got an indication of 500,000 viewers, and I look at that as a positive. I think there's a lot of people who don't want it to be true. I don't understand why that would necessarily be the case, because even with WWE on Netflix or AEW on Max, at the end of the day, it's an opportunity for people who may not watch wrestling to be like, what is this? Oh, that's Chris Jericho. I recognize Chris Jericho. Oh my God, wait, Chris Jericho's wrestling? Wait, this isn't WWE? Okay, I should click on this, right? There is an opportunity for those people who don't watch wrestling anymore to get on the app and watch it. And then obviously it is up to the pro wrestling company, whether it's WWE or AEW, it's up to them to create that like good enough product. Yeah, a compelling product to capture them. So, Billy, first let me get your like overall opinion on this, because WWE, AEW, obviously, you know, the fans are so funny about this kind of stuff, but you saw the reports, you see the talks. We're going into WrestleMania season, which right now AEW is also starting to warm up a little bit. So kind of give me your overall reaction when you see this is happening on the AEW side of things.
Well, like I've said before, I'm never a person who wishes down upon another company like AEW, right? So you want to see them succeed, and you see these numbers, and kind of like you said a moment ago, it's good, right? Nobody should be thinking bad about that. That if you are, then maybe you're just a weird person. So number one, it's a really good thing for AEW that they're doing these types of numbers, and like you said, you know, the partnership is most likely working under that regard. But the next thing is that, you know, to discuss the fan outrage. It's as simple as that. It's fans love to get outraged over things that don't necessarily matter to them as a viewer, right? So they love to say, "Oh, look at AEW's numbers; they're doing so well." Ha ha ha! WWE, and then WWE fans will love to say, "Oh, well, it's still nothing compared to what we're doing." Ha ha ha! Look at us. It's all very, very weird outrage overall. Like it's never not gonna be. And I think fans, it's fake. It's not real. It doesn't actually exist. I had made a tweet yesterday, kind of in reference. MJF had posted something online talking about the John Cena and Cody promo and how AEW mentioned WWE and WWE mentions AEW. And I said, yes, kids, if everybody sits down and listens, two companies are allowed to exist at the same time, and they're allowed to know about each other, right? So I just find it weird that people go back and forth about these things. Like, no, I want AEW to succeed. I don't know about anybody else, but I've said it numerous times. I want them to do well. I want them to thrive. I want them to continue to have success. Like Ango said a moment ago, they're heating up. The TV is getting really good, and if you're not paying attention, well, then, you know, that's on you. But regardless of the fact, they are doing really well, and they're starting to move forward in the direction that we've wanted them to move forward in. They're starting to listen to the criticisms. But that's just my take on it.
Yeah, I do find it fascinating, though, because when you look at AEW in recent weeks, it's really been an improvement of TV. And I think what's really crazy about this is, like, the wrestling war and the tribalism is so stupid. And trust me, I know what it's like on social media, because sometimes I do poke fun. And for me, it is funny because I just laugh at people. Like, I don't think people get it, but like, they'll sit there and they'll have their comments and shit. And I'm just like, bro, you don't understand that I'm literally laughing at you. Like, this tweet I made was so I can laugh at you. And people don't get that because they just take it too serious. But the tribalism thing, it's like, tribalism isn't necessarily a bad thing, but the problem is there's so many people who take it way too serious. And the reality is there's actually no point in doing that. And in addition to that, it's like, when you really look at the metrics, right? And it's like part of the title of the stream, but AEW beating SmackDown. Now you have a narrative because the SmackDown numbers came to 1.3 million viewers this past week. And then you have people who are like, oh, well, AEW is beating SmackDown. Well, it's like, that's not necessarily true. And the thing is, you can't use TV viewership as a way to say this is how many people actually watched. What you could do, though, is say, hey, this is how many people watched on HBO Max. This is how many people watched on Netflix. It's different because Netflix, it's like YouTube, right? Like, there is accounts that are logged in. They have the amount of accounts. They have the amount of watched minutes. They have the amount of data of the demographics of the account and the region that they're watching from. There's so much detail with these Nielsen boxes. They are not, I'm telling you right now, they are not in 150 million homes like Netflix is, or I mean, Netflix is in way more, but like Max or whatever. So to me, I do laugh at it because it's like, man, if AEW was really, really beating SmackDown, do you think Tony Khan would be quiet on social media? No. We know Tony Khan as a promoter. We know AEW as a company. They would be touting their victories like crazy. And that's why I do think like the 500K on Max is a good thing, but I don't think that's 500,000 new viewers. I think I'm a perfect example of this. I don't watch AEW on cable. I do watch AEW on Max. And I've actually advocated, by the way, I've said this. I said, if you guys have the opportunity to watch wrestling on a streaming app than traditional cable, you will see that it's higher quality. So I don't think 500K viewers is 500K new viewers. I think there's a large percentage of people who stopped watching on cable and watched it on Max, which, by the way, how do you not watch it on Max? There's the thing about streaming services, and I know this because, as many people may be aware, there was talks before AEW even landed a TV deal. I was talking about them being on Warner, and I was given that insight based on my real life job at the time, which I'm not going to get into specifics, but I've told this story somewhat a little bit before. I was given intel about AEW coming to Warner Bros. Discovery. At the time, we didn't know that AEW was the name. We didn't know what it was called. We just knew that a new wrestling property owned by a billionaire who owns the Jacksonville Jaguars was getting a TV deal with Max. And I remember talking about it on YouTube and having these conversations. So I'm very well aware of the streaming ecosystem. I worked in that space for years. And so to me, I look at 500K on Max as like, this is a lot better than what people are thinking. But also at the same time, too, it goes to show you that AEW could even be better. AEW is doing good. AEW could do even better creatively, and it's going to take some time for them. They got to show that they're consistent. But if AEW does that, who's to say that AEW on Max doesn't get more than 1 million, you know? Right. And that comes within time and comes in within years. But the thing is, you have to question the validity of the report. I don't know BJ Bethel. I don't know him. I don't know if this guy is accurate. I don't know if this
the guy who reported it.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him. I know that a lot of people who are in the business have also said, hey, this is not accurate. However, I'm going to give AEW their praise if it's true, because this is the first time that somebody's really putting their name to the actual numbers. And that takes balls, by the way. A reporter coming out, why would they risk their entire reputation? That would be kind of foolish. So I'm not sitting here saying yes or no, or it's bad or whatever. I think 500K is a very solid number. Now, regarding TV viewership, as I've said 1 million times, we know that these TV viewerships do not actually indicate how many people are watching the show. So with Netflix, it's different. With Max, it's different. With USA Network and the CW, it's different. And Billy, this is why I've always had that conversation with you where I said, I think it's a really cool thing that you can see. Like if the numbers are up or down, it just goes to indicate, hey, people are interested, people aren't as interested, but it's not an accurate number.
Very true.
So if it comes out, that AEW on Max drops from 500K to 300K, well, they lost 200,000 viewers, right? That's a problem. But if Max goes from 500K to 1 million viewers, they gain 500,000. Okay, well, it's being simulcasted. So are those 500,000 new viewers, or is it what is it, right? But at the end of the day, that's still a very strong indication of who is actually watching or how many people are actually watching. And that's why I kind of want to have this conversation too, because a lot of our talk on today's stream will be more oriented towards WrestleMania as we build to it. But at the time where this is at a weird time, Billy, and maybe you could chime in, but like I feel like wrestling, WWE has consistently been just growing and growing and growing significantly. Like they're not losing momentum, they're not losing steam. They're getting the ticket sales, they're selling astronomical ticket prices, and they're still selling. And this company is on fire. And AEW is on a very different. They're on a different trajectory. They're up and down with their business metrics. The attendance is down. TV viewership, on actual TV is down significantly. It's not the same company that they once were when they were actually killing NXT. Like they killed NXT at one point. And
dismantled it, literally.
Yeah, like that's like physical. Like there's actual proof that like NXT suffered because of AEW. And so maybe you could chime in on here, but when we look at WWE's constantly having this growth, right? Whether the fans online say like, oh, there's creative fatigue or it's good or it's bad, WWE has figured out a way to really, really capture this momentum. AEW is getting creatively better. Let's ignore the numbers for a second. AEW is still, doing lower attendance and stuff like that. They're still doing
they're still not doing anything to. At the end of the day, they're still not doing anything to actually capture a quote unquote new audience.
So, what do you think it will take for AEW at this stage of the game? Because WWE is doing it, whether people want to admit it or not. They are doing it. They are pricing out the hardcore fans, by the way, with WrestleMania tickets.
For sure.
They're pricing them out, and basically people are still buying the tickets. What is it going to take for AEW to really evolve and get to that level?
So I think there's a level of trust that needs to be regained to the regular fan, right? To the people that knew about AEW prior to and maybe left, right? Because I know people don't want to believe this, but we do have quote unquote lapsed AEW fans. There are people who walked away from AEW and chose to turn it off. Now, it might have not been a huge number or anything like that, but there was a solid number that walked away from AEW because they felt like there's a lack of trust there. So, in my eyes, what AEW needs to do, they have to start with that. They have to regain that audience that maybe left a long time ago and get them back on track, right? So I think that's step number one. Step number two is you have to, again, continue to tell compelling stories to make those people that you've gained back and the people that are currently watching go tell more people. Then is when you start kind of bloating the numbers a little bit. Hey, look at us, da-da-da. Because, again, WWE does it. So we're not mad at companies for bloating those numbers. We know that they just do them, right? But there has to be a level of trust for me to sit there and be like, oh, yeah, like that's really cool. That's really good. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just gaining that lapsed fan. That's what AEW needs to start with. And they need to put a focus back on that, but not make it the main focus, because what AEW had done to make those fans walk away in the first place is that they focused too much on their hardcore audience. When you focus too much on a hardcore audience, nothing is bound to grow, right? Because then you put yourself in a box and suddenly you're trapped in a box that you can't seem to escape. AEW needs to get that lapsed fan back that maybe walked away to go just back to WWE because maybe they were just a fan of the booking that WWE was doing, whatever the case is. They have to gain them back. And then you go out, you let them tell more people like, hey, look at what AEW is doing. Like us right now, we're sitting here having a positive conversation about AEW. That's important. That's a step. It may not seem like one, but it is.
Yeah. I do find it fascinating too, and we do have some super chats to get to, and we'll get to those in a second. But I do find it fascinating because I think, like, if you look at AEW, really the turning point was CM Punk, and then it's so crazy because CM Punk joined WWE at a time where they were gaining momentum, but now the momentum has really been secured. And I think maybe Tony Khan, I don't know Tony Khan on a personal level, but I think Tony Khan, I would like to hope that Tony Khan is regretful of posting that footage, because I feel like that was a very, very significant moment where you did alienate a large percentage of your audience.
That's where you create a lapsed fan.
Yeah, and the thing is too with AEW, creatively they are doing just so much better right now. It's not perfect, right? There's no such thing as perfection, regardless of the company, but it's getting a lot better, and it seems like they're a little bit more focused. And I always say when AEW is focused, they are really, really good. And right now they are really, really good. But I think you got to be consistently good. You got to really show the world, even if your storylines aren't going to always hit, you got to show your fans that you're constantly focused on this. And I think when you got rid of Punk, it was like you're kind of trying to cater to a very, very small percentage of people who genuinely don't.
You shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, 100%. And I told you, I was like, I think it's going to be very difficult for AEW to rebound. I don't think AEW has officially rebounded from that, regardless of what the numbers show. Not. Listen, the reason why I say this, it's not based on HBO Max. It's not based on TV ratings. It's actually just based on attendance. Like the fact that they went from Little Caesars Arena to now they're doing Masonic Temple tells you everything you need to know. Like it just really does show you that they are on a different trajectory than WWE. So what I would like to see is for AEW to try and fix that. And I think for AEW, it's not even about the in-ring style. It's not even about the storylines. It's a fundamental issue of who you are trying to actually capture as a fan. And I've said this before, there's nothing wrong with trying to go after your hardcore fans. That's completely fine. However, when you do that, you have to keep in mind that your decisions may alienate other people. And with AEW, it is very clear the CM Punk thing alienated other people. And there was no benefit to it. What happened with Jack Perry? Why isn't Jack Perry on TV right now? Like, if that was supposed to be the benefit, then it wasn't. It was very clear you did it for a ratings pop. And now what did you do in the meantime? You're doing smaller venues. I think the smaller venues look cooler. But the reason why you're doing smaller venues is because you haven't really figured out a way to put asses in seats anymore. You got rid of the person who was very responsible at a time for your large gates. And so for AEW, I do think it's always going to be hard to come back from that. But at the same time too, what we are seeing in the past month creatively is a lot better than what we've gotten in the past several years, right? So build upon that, make it bigger, make it better, and keep doing it. And I think people will eventually come around to being like, okay, this is a different company. And I just want to say this too, because the reputation of Tony Khan actually matters. And I want to make that clear. Tony Khan has not been a despicable human being on social media lately. He has not been this guy where you see him trashing other organizations or trashing WWE.
He's talking about his show.
Yeah, he's just promoting his stuff. But I think that there is a realization that Tony Khan may have had where it's like, hey, I can't be this guy anymore. And the reason why you can't be this guy anymore is because that does alienate people. Like if Triple H, truth be told, if Triple H were on Twitter just bashing everything AEW does, if Triple H put out a tweet where he's like, oh, we beat AEW Dynamite ratings despite the fact that they have Hall of Famer Sting and Hall of Famer Chris Jericho, like imagine if people saw that. They would look at Triple H and be like, what are you doing?
They would laugh.
People would laugh. But when Tony Khan did it with Undertaker and John Cena appearing on NXT, people were like, bro, like this ain't it. Like, so I'm actually glad that was one thing Tony Khan, I'm glad he kind of got away from, because now his social media thing, to me, it seems like he's just focused, which is good, and I want that to continue. But don't get away from that, man. Like, don't get away from the fact that like you actually have something good right now. Just keep doing it, and eventually people will see that you've changed and your company has changed, and they might give you another chance. And then the realism that comes from that is, hey, maybe it's not going to be 500K on Max. Maybe it will be 1.1 or 1.2 million, and that would be phenomenal, right? That would be amazing for AEW. And not only amazing for AEW, but guess what? That's going to make WWE be like, hey, this company has finally understood that they had to make some changes, and now that pushes WWE to be better. Because let's just be real. If AEW didn't exist, WWE could be as lazy as they want. because they're just going to keep doing their thing. But I think AEW existing and all these companies existing basically tells WWE they are forced to actually be good,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's get to these super chats. I do want to get to these super chats. The hype jar is filling up. We got a couple super chats. Tolino Channel said he dropped 40 rupees. He says Gunther became the first man to taste bloodline. That's crazy. What did you think, by the way? Because you weren't on my post show, and you didn't do a post show. But really quick, you see the Gunther, Jimmy, and Jay thing. I said this is exactly what the story needed. It's already been a good story going into it, but now they're really, really kicking it up a notch. What was your reaction to this, bro? Because Gunther beat the shit out of Jimmy.
So I'll tell you, I posted a clip on TikTok of the during my watch along. They made me black and white it because it was so violent. So I had to black and white the footage to even upload it. So it is exactly what the feud needed. Now people are going to cheer Jay more. WWE heard your criticisms. They listened to what you were saying, and they followed through. Right?
Yeah.
So be happy. I know I'm happy. I'm excited for Jay to win the world championship from Gunther because it's going to be amazing now because now he has something to fight for. Yeah. And it's not just him not being able to do it. No, he hurt his brother.
Yeah.
So now Jay winning that world championship is going to be very, 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 very special.
I was going to say, too, it's one thing for Jay just to win the Royal Rumble as a surprise, and then he, gets the championship thing. And then it's cool because now he had a little bit of doubt. But then you put him in this situation where it's his brother. And it's like, I think this is going to really crush Jay. I talked about it yesterday. There was a tweet that I saw somebody post, and I swear I can't remember who posted it, so my apologies. But I mentioned it yesterday. I thought it was really cool. They're like, imagine like before WrestleMania starts and Jay's like about to walk off to the ring or whatever, and Roman Reigns is right here and just like gives him like that little babyface rub, like, hey, you are
that'd
a world
be
champion.
Solid. That'd be fire. You are main event Jey Uso.
Yeah, so that would be really cool. Like you get the Roman Reigns rub. Jay makes his entrance to the crowd. You open up WrestleMania. He wins. It's a feel good moment. You start off the show with a banger. And the cool thing for Gunther too is Gunther is gonna be like, he should be dominating Jay, honestly. And we'll talk about that more in the WrestleMania prediction show. But he should dominate Jay, and then Jay pulls it off. And he, Rocky Balboa style, baby.
Yeah, why not?
Everybody loves a good babyface comeback. So
the man who wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
Come on.
Tolino Channel dropping another super chat, 100 rupees. He says, Jay says you touched my brother. It's payback. The feud now has a purpose more than Royal Rumble. Yeah, that's exactly echoing exactly what me and Billy were just saying. One thing I will say though, Billy, let me ask you this, because a lot of people criticize that Jay isn't that great as a singles guy, as a singles performer. And I just want to know, like, you've heard my theory on Sami Zayn turning and going after Jay and stuff like that. So we've heard those theories that I've presented to you. But if Jay goes out there and Jay goes out there and he delivers this massive match, what's next, bro? Like what happens immediately after? Because you can't go straight to my theory with Sami. You can't do that just yet. So
no, I think you could continue on a little bit with the Gunther thing, right? Because I feel like Gunther, you can't just have him walk away from the world championship right after.
Yeah,
I think Gunther is still going to have a very important role on TV, and whatever that is, I guess we'll see. But I do think you can continue that Gunther storyline a little bit. I think to also add a little more seed of doubt, you could probably get somebody like Karrion Kross involved, right, and offer that doubt to Jay, like, oh, you still can't beat him. You got lucky, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I think you could continue that storyline a little bit. And then eventually we get to Sami Zayn and stuff like that. And I think, that'll eventually be really, really good when it happens. But yeah, no, I think the immediate aftermath is you can continue on the things with Gunther and maybe add in somebody else, not sure off the top of my head, that I could think of right at this very moment. Yeah, I want to say that'd be the immediate aftermath.
Yeah. I just don't know what I want Gunther to do after.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the hard problem, because what are you going to do? You can't just send him back down the card.
No. And it
But
also
you need to
depends when
give
they do
him
the
another.
it depends when they do the draft too, because maybe you could switch it up and
This
move him
is
to
true.
SmackDown.
This is true. This is true. This is true. But all I know is Gunther needs he needs to have a good story coming out of WrestleMania, and maybe you do something where you start to split the tease between him and Ludwig completely.
Yeah.
And maybe Ludwig to start that feud. Okay, hear me out. Now, I just had a thought. Little bubble popped up.
Okay.
Imagine Jay wins, right? If you want an immediate aftermath, you have Gunther off of TV for a week or two, but you have Ludwig get involved with Jay, right? And you have Ludwig try and chase down the world championship, right? You let him pick up some wins, whatever. You have him chase down the world championship. That ultimately leads to the jealousy of Gunther and Gunther getting really, really angry at Ludwig. And then you have those two split up, and then you eventually lead into the Sami Zayn split. That's just my thought.
It's interesting. I think in the draft, by the way, they should move the World Heavyweight Championship to SmackDown and the WWE Championship to Raw.
They probably will.
I think that would be a wonderful idea. Probably won't. I don't know if they will, but they probably should. Tolino Channel follows up with another $100 rupee super chat. He says Cody cooked Cena. Cena cooked Cody. Crowd got a delicious meal. Ingredients: Vince, Tony, Stardust, Vanilla, Cena, Jorts. But Rock drama is still a mystery. No, I don't think the Rock drama is still a mystery at this point. I mean, John Cena did mention The Rock.
No, he didn't.
He did. He mentioned The Rock in his promo. He just didn't explain why.
When did he mention him? Cody mentioned him.
Cena mentioned him.
Oh, how?
He mentioned him in the promo. Either that or I'm tripping, but I remember him. I remember The Rock being brought up. But I will say this. Regardless, it doesn't even matter. I think I explained it very well in my post show yesterday. So Billy, I'm going to bring this up to you and your thing, because we kind of talked about it even at 12 p.m. But I think the ultimate thing here is Cena's no longer being advertised. People think Cena won't show up, which also means Cody's not expecting Cena to show up. So at this point, what I really need is The Rock and Cena to show up randomly on a Raw to beat Cody's ass, maybe on the go-home show before WrestleMania, something like that. And it makes a lot of logical sense, too, because Cody would never see it coming because John Cena's not even being advertised on this farewell tour. That's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, because John needs some kind of get back now. Cody put his hands on him. One thing John is not is a person who he doesn't take things lightly.
Yeah.
Right? Cody put his hands on him. Now John has to come back for vengeance. That's just how it has to go now.
Yeah. Great promo
That's my
battle.
thought. Oh my God. Amazing. Amazing. I loved everything about that. It's exactly what WrestleMania needed.
Yeah. We
had been begging for that for two weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe even a month if you talk about the Elimination Chamber after that. We had been begging for something like that. We needed something like that really bad. WWE finally, again, listened, heard, delivered, right?
Yeah.
And WWE tends to do a really good job at doing that every so often, is listening to the criticisms and hearing what people are saying and ultimately capitalizing on it.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Tolino Channel for those super chats. Phil dropping a $4.99. He says, I think Dynasty is a huge test to bring back those lapsed fans. You get them and your product back on track. It's a small step and every step counts. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that is very, very true. And the problem is with AEW, it's everybody knows their pay-per-views deliver. It's just their TV isn't consistent. And I think that's probably the biggest concern is like Dynasty could bring back fans, but if your TV product isn't as consistent, I do think that hurts. So it's tough. Like, it's genuinely tough to say what will happen. But I will say, to bringing back the lapsed fans, it's not a several month thing. I mean, CM Punk left 2 years ago.
Yep.
Like,
But you do have to think that they had a fall off after that. So to gain the lapsed fan, you're right. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It's going to take time, but there is a step.
This right now is creatively the most momentum they've had in 3 years.
Absolutely, but creatively doesn't really matter at the end of the day if nobody's watching it.
Correct.
So, therefore, like Phil said, this is their chance. You have an opportunity, run with it. We know their pay-per-views are going to be good. Now, if they want to do this correctly, you put the belt on Swerve. Hopefully they listen to our criticisms. Hopefully they heard it. If that is the case, then I think AEW has a good summer coming for All In.
And not to cut you off, but also I think if Swerve wins, then I think that pretty much guarantees that Darby probably isn't going to be back in time.
Yes, exactly.
Shout out to Phil for the super chat. We're going to give a shout out to True Styles. He dropped a super chat for $5. It's his first super chat on the channel. However, True Styles did not actually leave a comment. I did see a message after, though. He says, Gunther is a beast. So I don't know if that was supposed to be part of his super chat or not. But I actually want to shout out True Styles. And I did talk about True Styles yesterday as well. True Styles left a tip on the Stream Elements link for $4.20 over the weekend. And anytime I see people do this, I always want to reach out. And I don't know how to reach out to True Styles, but I want to reach out to True Styles because of that. It was very, very nice of him to drop a tip over the weekend. We weren't live or anything like that. And then today he dropped a super chat. So shout out to True Styles. Appreciate the love and the respect, brother. It does mean a lot, and that never goes unnoticed. So appreciate you, my man. Tolino Channel coming through with another 100 rupees. He says, Jay wins title. Roman congratulated him, but realized Jay is the one having gold, not him. The guy with gold is OTC. Roman has involvement in Sammy winning. I don't want to speculate on this because I think it's too much, to be honest. I think it's going to be very simple with Sammy and
Jay. I don't think it has to be bloodline deep.
Yeah, I don't think so. I just think I think Roman just needs to kind of give him a little bit of he just needs to give him a little bit of love and just let him know that he can win. That's it.
Right.
Just show your support, bro. Just show your support to your brother, your cousin, your fam, your blood.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah. Right?
Simple stuff.
However, and I got to say this, I love Roman Reigns. But we don't need a Roman Reigns title reign.
No, I don't need him to be the world champion.
Yeah, but I don't need Roman to go after the belt, and I don't really want to see Roman involved in the title picture, even helping Sammy winning.
Yeah, I'm good.
I want Sammy to do it on his own. Sammy being a heel.
It is, I will say, it is an interesting take, but I don't want to see it.
Yeah. Shout out to Tolino Channel for the super chat. Appreciate you, bro. I don't think I'm missing any more. So hopefully I'm not. But if you guys get in those super chats, we will respond to them. The hype jar has some gems in there. I don't know if we'll be able to get it all the way full. I don't know how it works, which is kind of funny.
Bro, this hype jar is hilarious.
Kind of fun.
It's about as silly as me.
Silly Billy. Ladies and gentlemen, Silly Billy is in the chat. Come on. I wanted to pull this up too because I just thought this was really interesting. Have you been seeing this beef between Swerve Strickland and Booker T?
No, but I think he said something on Vlad TV. Swerve did.
Yeah.
About Booker T. Am I correct for saying that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. Other than that, I haven't seen it.
It's just very interesting stuff to pay attention to, and people in the chat have mentioned it. Swerve has a little bit of beef with Top Dollar and Tahuti Miles, aka Ashanti the Adonis, and then Swerve's interview with Vlad, which, by the way, I mean, me and you know this because we're like hip hop guys. Like we grew up on the Vlad TV shit too, all those interviews that they did. But Vlad TV's interview with Swerve just resulted in this, like, it catapulted into this huge discourse. Bro,
it's
so strange.
I love Vlad, but his platform, bro, the beef that comes out of that thing is ridiculous.
It's so toxic, and I think that's one of the things that Booker T is saying. Like, he turned it down because it exploited stuff, and I don't want to talk about the nitty gritty of it. I don't want to talk about all the details of it, but it is a shame just to kind of see what Swerve is saying about Top Dollar and what Booker is saying and all these guys talking, because Swerve is an awesome talent on his own accord. I think Top Dollar has shown the world that he is a really, really, really good talent leaving
Just
WWE.
watch some Impact, baby. Watch some Impact.
Yeah, like I don't know. Those were like really cool things. I feel like in my mind. Obviously Booker T's a legend, you know. So it's just kind of crazy to see like everybody's just like talking back and forth, and it's just leading to a lot of discourse and a lot of stuff that really.
Again, this is where tribalism gets created. This is where the back and forth get created. You know, this is where the toxicity is created, and that's what's crappy. Is people at the end of the day, they as much as people don't want to believe it or they say they don't, whatever, et cetera, they love the toxicity. They love viewing it. At the end of the day, bro, that shit is trash. It's garbage. No, let these people do their thing. And if they have grudges between each other, let them settle them behind closed doors. I don't know. That's just my personal take.
Well, you just don't want to see people beefing in general, especially especially when you look at Swerve being like he made it from where WWE, it just didn't work out. Like shit happens,
bro. Bro is a top guy where he is at.
Yeah, and like Top Dollar has figured out a way, which obviously Top Dollar, which I will say this, like my interactions with him have always been positive. I think he carries himself like a true pro. Like he's passionate about the wrestling stuff. He obviously has the football background. He does the media stuff. He goes around, puts in the work, you know, and this guy kind of gets shitted on because he's not some 5-star Will Ospreay type of wrestler.
He's not an indie darling.
But it's so crazy because he's killing it on the indies. He's killing it in in TNA. He's killing it in Wrestling Revolver. He had a match with Brandon Does Everything, and that was just awesome to watch. Like, this guy is awesome. Oh, by the way, he does music, and he's awesome at that. And it's just like, man, these guys are really, really, like, I don't know. Like, I just don't like to see this kind of beef, bro. Like, I think with wrestlers and going back and forth and talking and, like, you know, it's all this stuff. It's just, like, nobody's gonna know the truth because it's always three sides to the story. There's this person's, there's that person's, and then there's the middle, which is somewhat of the truth. But I see the Swerve Strickland stuff, and it's like, man, you're a world champion kind of guy. You very well could be winning the belt at Dynasty. Why are you even talking bad? Like, bro, I don't understand this thing, and I'm gonna be honest. Like, in the workplace environment, I don't know why you would be talking shit about your former employer. I don't know why you would be talking shit about Triple H or Booker T or Top Dollar or whatever. Because you never know, bro. Like, one day AEW could fold or WWE can fold. You need a job, and people would be like, yeah, man, like, you're too controversial for us. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird, I swear. I feel like it's really, I don't know.
It's silly. It's silly. People in the chat are saying, silly Billy swerves when he drives.
Oh my God, that's funny. We got a membership renewal from True Styles. He says, thanks, bro, for the shout out. Means a lot, really. And I was just saying Gunther made a statement on handling the Bloodline members. Bro, he made a statement. He was vicious. There was blood. And oh my God, this is the worst discourse I've seen. It's okay for Jimmy to bleed, but it's not okay for John Moxley to have the thing in his freaking back. You know?
Come on.
Bro, blood in wrestling is okay when you don't do it all the time. And I'm not talking about the John Moxley spot because personally, you guys know I don't care for that shit. But if you're going to make a feud even bigger, use blood. But do it the right way. And sometimes AEW does it great, and sometimes WWE does it great, and sometimes both companies kind of suck with it. But the Jimmy Uso thing was great because what brother is going to sit there and watch his other brother? Like, what guy is going to sit there and watch his brother get his ass kicked and like, not try to do anything about it? This is what you're seeing. Right. You're seeing Jay have a human emotional attachment to, now this is bigger than a championship, bro. You're coming after my brother. That's exactly a storyline. It doesn't have to be some crazy, oh my God, a million details, bro.
It's just simple. It's simple. Straight to the point.
Straight to the point. It's simple. It's good. It makes it worth like the investment. And you know, it's so crazy. It's so crazy to me just to see that unfold. Honestly, it's been really, really good to watch that. And shout out to WWE for realizing that feud needed it because, you know, big topic of today's live stream is, did WWE Raw save WrestleMania? And I don't know what to expect moving forward with John Cena, but I will say this match needed saving. Not from me. I've been on board with it from day one, but now you got everybody emotionally attached to like, okay, Now it really feels like we're warming up and getting closer to WrestleMania. That's what Raw did last night. And a big part of that was because of the Jimmy, Jay, and Gunther. And I don't know who it was. Honestly, it may have been JD from New York. JD, I think I saw this. Respect to JD, not trying to be a dickhead, but I saw JD was like, he put out a tweet like he wanted a little bit more, and then the show went to commercial break, and then it came back, and that's when everything hit.
Bro, look. We were on the live stream, right? We were on my live stream, right?
Yeah.
We're all talking in the chat. Everybody's having a good time. Everybody's bullshit, whatever. We're sitting there, and as it went to commercial, I was like, man, like they kind of did something, but like it didn't. Like they had Jimmy come out there and fight. Bro, we were talking about it.
Yeah.
The moment that it came back from commercial, and you seen that they were still there, and Gunther immediately attacked him, I was like, oh, like you could hear it in my clip. I say, oh, we're eating our words as we're saying them.
And all I wanted to say was, this is because WWE doesn't do shit like this. It's like it goes commercial break and then it comes back, commentary setting up for the next segment, right? Or whatever it is. So I love that they did that. I loved it because I actually felt the same sentiment that you felt, and I felt the same way as JD, because I was like, man, like that's it. Like they could have done more. Comes back from commercial, I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy.
Yeah, bro. It was immediately after too. I was talking to somebody in the chat and I was like, yo, like we are instantly eating our words. We were saying it live and in person, and immediately it just comes back and they give you everything that you want. And the reason why you're saying those things is because, like you said, you're not used to WWE even doing things like that.
Yeah. So that's the way WWE and AEW should operate, though, is like you kind of have a way of doing things for so long that it kind of becomes like predictable in the sense of like, okay, that's it. It's over. Yeah, do this kind of stuff. Go to commercial break, come back to a feud or a random ass brawl or whatever it may be. Like, do these kind of things, because it really shook me when not shook me, but I was like, I just kind of felt like, damn, bro, that was it. Like, they could have done more. Like,
yeah, for sure.
You could have done more. Holy shit, you just came back and did way more than I anticipated.
You did a lot more.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. That was just really good production right there. That was really...
It was.
Whoever made that call, I don't know if that's a Triple H call or an agent or... Lee Fitting or whatever, but
genius.
Yeah, that was very, very good stuff. And I just want to point out, it was funny because I remember seeing JD tweet about it, and people were giving him shit about it after the fact, but it's like, bro, that's real time analysis. You're watching something and it goes to commercial break. You kind of anticipate that, like, okay, that was it. What the hell? And then sure enough, it came back and guns blazing. WWE it got crazy and, filthy and bloody and felt really personal, and being zip tied to the rope. It's like, this wasn't a new creative concept. It's a creative concept that's been done before, but it's just how they executed it so well, and that was something I really liked. Thank you to True Styles for renewing the membership. Shout out to Phil for a $9.99 super chat. He says, we've seen people's confidence get rattled while facing Gunther before. We saw it with Sammy at WrestleMania 40 and he won. Now it's happening with Jay at WrestleMania 41. He looked defeated last night. He's got to fight for it. Yeah, I mean, listen, bro, like the thing with Jay is, and we said it earlier, but it just goes to show you that the storyline needed something to get people emotionally attached. And the problem with pro wrestling is, and I genuinely mean this, Jey Uso, the hate, we've said it a million times, the hate for Jey Uso is forced. It's fake outrage. Silly. It's people being stupid, right? Like, it's obvious. Yeah. People are just not being genuine about it. There is criticisms towards Jay that I think are valid in terms of in-ring ability. May not be the best in-ring talent as a singles guy. That's to be expected when your entire career you have been a tag team guy. But it's not like Jey Uso is going to go out there and have a bad match with Gunther. And I've said this before, if Jey Uso goes out there and delivers a massive, massive match with Gunther, and they produce this match incredibly well, Jay is going to take the world by storm because he's already got that casual audience love, right? Now it's just a matter of, can you get people online to start talking about you? I think WWE will. I think Jay and Jimmy are so good at the emotions and the theatrics, and dude, this is like, they're good storytellers. And so they are going to be great in the future of WWE as singles acts. I think for Gunther, the story is Gunther, and yes, Phil's right. You know, we saw with him and Sammy. Nobody expected Sammy to beat Gunther last year, bro. Nobody expected it. And so when you see Sammy, like, it was such a great moment. And Gunther's losses really in WWE. He lost to Braun Breaker. Who else? Ilya Dragunov in NXT UK, and then Braun Breaker in NXT 2.0.
Then Sammy,
and now Jay. Like, this guy does not have many losses. So now he's really underestimating Jay. And I think if you deliver that in a storyline, it's going to be so good, bro. It's going to be so good. And I think it just goes to show you, like, people don't even realize the cinema that we're going to get. If my theory that I dropped months ago about Sami Zayn, for months and months, I've been talking about it, Billy, but if that comes to fruition,
there's so many underlining factors.
Oh my God. And it's all because of the bloodline. It's all because of the bloodline story trickled into a whole bunch of other stuff. And that's great. I love that you see things from other storylines having an impact on the current storylines. I love the fact that we're not ignoring things that have happened in the past. That's the one thing that I love so much about Triple H's WWE is we are not insulting people's intelligence. If it happened before, if there was a connection before, you go into it with this mentality that you're going to keep, like, pushing it, you know? And I just really got to give props here because the Jey Uso story arc is like, yeah, he won the Royal Rumble. He defeated John Cena. Oh my God, John Cena goes to Elimination Chamber and sells his soul. It makes a lot of sense for John Cena to sell his soul. He just lost to Jey Uso, right?
It does.
There is so much good that comes from this kind of stuff. And then people's focus is, well, Jey isn't Will Ospreay. Yeah, but let's have that uncomfortable conversation. Jey Uso is selling more tickets than Will Ospreay, and I love both guys. I love both guys, and I don't like the tribalism that's enforced between this kind of stuff. But if you really want to talk about factual information, we could talk about Jey Uso selling more tickets than Kenny Omega, and selling more tickets than Will Ospreay, and selling more tickets than many other people in AEW. So we can't sit there and talk about somebody's in-ring ability as a positive or a negative when it comes down to the business overall. People love watching Jey Uso, and they are going to go crazy when he beats Gunther. And actually, I am 100% confident after watching Raw last night. WWE has done such a great job with this particular story. I think a lot of casuals will be very, 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 very upset if they see Jey Uso lose, because now they're emotionally attached to it, where it's like, bro, we want him to win.
Yep, I'm here to tell you, I would be very upset if Jey lost.
That's a great way of storytelling, bro. I'm sorry, but that's like that's how
you do it. That's how you do it.
It's very effective.
That's compelling.
What I want to see is night one open up with with Jey. Like, this is it. This is what I want. Because I don't want Jey Uso to have some grand entrance. I want Jey Uso to enter at WrestleMania through the crowd, right? So what I want is for Jey to pull up at WrestleMania, getting ready to enter through the crowd, and Roman Reigns stops him and says, hey, you can do this. And then he daps him up. Maybe you even get Roman doing a yeet or something like that. I don't know. But you have Jey coming out with Cardi B or Sexy Red or whoever it is. You have him come out with celebrities into the crowd. Yeet, yeet, yeet. Doesn't need to be anything crazier than that. He goes into the ring. He's embracing the crowd, and Gunther should just maul him. Gunther should shake up his confidence, and Michael Cole should be on commentary saying his confidence is rocked. He is not going to be able to do this. I want, like, here's the thing. I don't know how often you watch UFC, Billy. I know you watch a little bit.
I do.
But there's nothing better than when I hear Michael Bisping or Joe Rogan or Daniel Cormier talk about somebody getting rocked to the point where it's like, this is lopsided.
I seen one dude get rocked, and he did like a somersault, like a backward somersault to stand back up, and I was like, oh my God. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, where they talk about like the underdog story is really what it is.
That's what we need. That's what we need in this match. And it's going to be commentary's job to do it. And yeah, Gunther should be smoking him, and then Jey Uso should pull off the victory. And that would be amazing. And you brought up Ludwig Kaiser, right? Imagine you turn on Raw the following night, and Ludwig Kaiser looks at Gunther and he goes, you couldn't even beat Jey Uso?
Yeah. Oh my god.
You couldn't beat Jey Uso?
Yeah.
Despicable.
And suddenly Gunther's confidence is rocked.
But then Ludwig Kaiser finally breaks away from him. Like this entire time, like I've stood behind you because you're the man, but you just lost to Jay. You're no longer the man. Imagine that, bro. Imagine that happening. So now you could even now we have that solution to the Gunther thing afterwards. It's like, okay,
right.
He drops the belt. Maybe he does a match with at Backlash against Jay. Who knows?
Right.
But yeah,
I think the Summerline storyline could be him and Ludwig.
Where's ultimately? Are they doing Bash in Berlin again?
I don't know.
No, because they're doing Clash in Paris, I think.
Paris, right? Yes. Overseas, those two?
I don't know.
I prefer to see that match overseas. Just saying.
Yeah, it's a Bash. I mean, next time they do Ilya Dragunov and Gunther, it should be Bash in Berlin. You know.
Agreed. Yeah.
Shout out to Phil for the super chat. A lot of great stuff there, man. Give me 1 second, Billy. I'm gonna actually let you chat with the chat for a second. I'm just gonna go grab a water because my throat is parched.
This man has no water. He needs to stay hydrated. I'm here to tell you, water is your best friend, guys. If you guys aren't drinking water, you need to do better. How's everybody doing today? What's everybody's takes on Raw? Give me a rating on the show. We're not asking for Dave Meltzer's ratings. We're asking for the chat's ratings. What is your guys' ratings on Raw? If you want my personal, 8 out of 10. It did what it needed to do. It moved the show forward. But yeah, we're here. 7.5, 6 out of 10. I give Raw an 8 out of 10. Trey, I like that. I don't hate that. Chester, 9 out of 10. 8 out of 10. About to watch. Oh, sir, from the 6. You haven't even watched. 8 out of 10. It was average. Okay. So you guys have about the same. You guys are about the same as where I'm at with it. 9 out of 10 is what Phil says. Okay. It was nothing special. Billy, do you think if Gunther loses at WrestleMania, it will hurt him? No. Gunther, we just talked about it a moment ago. Gunther's going to be fine. Michael said 8 out of 10. David said 9 out of 10. Yeah, so we're all kind of roughly in the same realm. It's not a 10 out of 10, but it did exactly what it needed to do. It moved everything forward. There were some more exciting parts. We haven't even talked about the Judgment Day stuff and everything with that, the Braun Breaker, Penta, Finn Balor, Dom Mysterio. We haven't even discussed that yet, but that's going to be an interesting topic. Let's see. I just think these shows in the afternoon kill it for me. Yeah, I mean, listen, I understand. People are at work and stuff like that. Like, it is hard. But again, I think that goes back to us being, selfish American fans, right? That, we're not willing to sit up for a couple weeks and deal with it on their time. I talked about that a little bit yesterday. Their time, they're up 2, 3, 4 in the morning waiting for us, to start the show. And in reality, we're struggling watching in the middle of the day. You know what I'm saying? Is as much as that, like, it sucks, because a lot of us have our things to do, and then we base our days around how they're going or how they're maneuvering the shows and whatever. That, when we get just a little bit of a minor inconvenience, we tend to be like, oh man, like this is no good.
Hey, I'm back.
Hey, what's up, man? We were just talking about, I was just talking about how, there's some people in the chat talking about how, like, some of them are disappointed, with the shows being in the mid-afternoon, which I told them, I was like, we talked about it yesterday. But overall, us as American fans, we're selfish. Anytime a minor inconvenience happens, we're like, oh man, I want it back in the States.
I was just so bored last night at 8 p.m.
I know, bro. Me too.
I didn't have the Pistons on. If I had the Pistons, it would have been different, but...
yeah, they suspended Isaiah Stewart for 2 games.
I just saw that. That's some bullshit. Hey, we got some other breaking news, though.
What's that?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read this to you guys while we're live. There's some breaking news. A WWE star is being sued. Apparently, maybe facing some legal...
ramifications?
Yeah, so hold on. So basically what is happening here is there's an article that just came out. It's breaking news. Pat McAfee may face a lawsuit over a viral scandal. And the reason why I'm talking about this live is because this actually happened apparently on ESPN because of the Pat McAfee show and what he does there. But you have to kind of wonder if this will have any sort of issue with him in WWE. So I'm going to read this to you guys. A recent report published by The Athletic has unveiled allegations concerning WWE commentator Pat McAfee's conduct on his ESPN program, potentially leading to legal repercussions. The report details an incident during the February 26, 2025 broadcast of the Pat McAfee Show on ESPN, which featured NFL insider Adam Schefter as a guest. According to the report, McAfee unexpectedly introduced a supposed report circulating on social media alleging that an 18-year-old female freshman at the University of Mississippi had engaged in infidelity with her boyfriend's father. What? Okay, this is crazy. Despite Schefter's attempts to redirect the conversation towards Mississippi quarterback Jackson Dart, Pat McAfee and his associates persisted with crude jokes and commentary regarding the unsubstantiated story. They transitioned to discussing Dart's NFL draft prospects. The young woman in question, identified as Mary Kate Cornett, was not named directly by Pat McAfee. The original source of the story was traced to Yik Yak, an anonymous posting platform popular among college students, then spread virally on X, accompanied by a picture of Cornett taken from her Instagram account. McAfee was not the sole individual who addressed the fabricated story. Two personalities from Barstool Sports, among others, also reportedly commented on the matter. Cornett alleges that the widespread dissemination of this false information resulted in harassment within her college dormitory, forcing her to relocate to emergency housing and attend her classes remotely. The article states that law enforcement officers were dispatched to her mother's residence in Houston, Texas, in what appeared to be a swatting incident, which was corroborated by a police report and security footage. Cornett also claims that she received numerous offensive voicemails after her phone number was published online. In response to the escalating situation, she and her boyfriend were compelled to issue public statements denouncing the false narrative. The family is now pursuing legal action and seeking intervention from authorities to address the harm caused by the dissemination of this defamatory information. I don't know if I have dyslexia, but low-key I might. The story noted that Cornett engaged legal representation and said she intends to take action against McAfee and ESPN, which airs his show, and potentially others involving in spreading the rumor. Cornett also added, I would like people to be held accountable for what they've done. You're ruining my life by talking about it on your show for nothing but attention. But here I am staying up until 5 a.m. every night, throwing up, not eating, because I'm so anxious about what's going to happen for the rest of my life. And she has hired legal counsel. Now, you guys might be wondering, why are we discussing this live on the Ango Show Live? But of course, Pat McAfee is a commentator for WWE on WWE Netflix. Billy, what are you thinking?
I mean, I'm no legal counsel. I'm no none of that. But from what it sounds like, I mean, it doesn't sound good. You know what I mean? Obviously, WWE is going to have a feeling towards this, especially as it gets more publicized. You know, I think that's just at the end of the day what WWE is going to do. That's how they maneuver. Now, how they go about it, I guess we'll see. But overall, I mean, you know, you hurt for the person that was involved in that, because yes, anybody who is speaking down on anybody on any live, you know, case scenario is never any good. You know, especially if it's not necessarily deserved, right? So overall, I'm not going to give too much thought on it, but, you know, very, very shitty situation overall.
A lot of people say that, like, the Pat McAfee show, which I enjoy watching the Pat McAfee show. I think
so do I.
I think they're very entertaining. I think the people that they bring in there as guests are great. But a lot of people say that sometimes Pat McAfee and the guys, you know, on the show, they kind of just go too far with things in general, right? And it's an interesting thing because technically this is an ESPN situation, but you have to wonder how WWE would respond to it because he is an active member of their television product. And really,
I guess that's.
Go ahead.
I guess it's all gonna depend, you know, in WWE circumstance. I guess it's all gonna depend on how ESPN responds.
Yeah.
I think WWE will act accordingly.
It's so interesting because I feel like cancel culture is so prevalent in today's day and age. Like, I personally look at this as like, you know, cancel culture exists and everybody just wants to get canceled, and you know, or not everybody wants to get canceled, but I think a lot of people want people canceled.
But there is also, and this is where we may argue a little bit. As much as cancel culture does exist, and they have existed for a really long time, and it's been a prevalent thing on the internet. No matter what, now it's turned into a point to where people will say things thinking that there's no repercussions behind what they say.
And so what I was gonna say is, what I was gonna say about that was, WWE has kind of been different with cancel culture. WWE kind of doesn't really follow the trends of cancel culture. So I am curious to see how WWE does respond to that, because obviously with Pat McAfee, he is a big deal within the WWE eyes. I mean, he is essentially the reason why Corey Graves isn't a commentator on Raw, right? WWE likes the value of Pat McAfee's name. I do agree with you. They'll probably follow suit with whatever ESPN does. However, it's really strange with ESPN, because when it comes to Pat McAfee and controversies before, or when people try to criticize Pat McAfee for having Aaron Rodgers on the show or whatever it may be, I do think to a certain extent, ESPN has kind of even laid off of that, where they're like, hey, we're not worried about this. Like, we're not doing anything about it. So I do think to a certain degree, if ESPN doesn't do anything about it, WWE probably won't do anything about it. However, I do think there would probably be a conversation with WWE to Pat McAfee. You know, like even yesterday on Raw, and obviously this is a little bit different, but on Raw, he was introducing Michael Venom Page from the UFC,
and he got it wrong.
He got it wrong, and then he was like, "Oh, I have a hard time reading." Like, maybe WWE will have a conversation with him of like, "Hey, just be very careful with some of the things that you're talking about on commentary. We love you to be free spirited, but you know, even yesterday, Michael Cole made a comment about the JFK files and stuff, and like, this isn't WWE, bro. WWE doesn't typically talk about things like this, so." You know, I think maybe to a certain extent there would be a conversation, but I don't think WWE, there's been so much other stuff that have been talked about with WWE and other legal situations with WWE that things haven't really been done about. So I don't know if, I don't think WWE will necessarily make a change, but I do think if this were to get bigger and like actually ends up becoming a bigger issue, maybe they would pull some strings.
Like I said, it would just, they'll act accordingly.
So crazy, man. So crazy.
Very, very.
Well,
very
that's the reason why you guys should watch us live, because sometimes we just talk about random stuff that pop up like this. This was a breaking news story, and yeah.
Just tune in. Why not? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Do we have any more super chats to go through? Did I miss any while we were talking about that? Because I wasn't necessarily. I was obviously reading the article. I wasn't paying attention. Right. Did we miss super chats? Did you get any super chats on your channel that maybe we missed?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, cool. I was just making sure. It seems like we've gotten a lot better about that.
yeah, we have. We fixed our problems. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
And we're back 2 days in a row. What you guys gonna say now? Huh?
We out here.
We're actually not gonna be live tomorrow.
We're not?
Yeah.
Why?
April Fools.
Oh, silly Billy. Oh, what an asshole. That's funny. Not really.
Come on now.
Shout out to David Decker. He says Ango and Billy is the best YouTube wrestling show. I think so. I think we're the best.
Shout out, David. Thanks, man.
Shout out to David.
I think we're the greatest around. That's just personal.
Speaking of April Fools, who has the worst April Fool's joke that you've seen so far?
I haven't seen any because life's been kicking my ass.
Really?
Yeah, if anybody makes a joke today, I'm gonna be angry.
Oh my god. Yeah, I think I really do believe that I think April Fool's is dumb. Last year Last year I had some fun with it, but it's just dumb.
I mean, honestly, I'm a POS. If I'm being quite honest, to my mom. My mom probably gets it the worst from me.
Nice.
Because every year, I call her and I tell her I'm having a baby.
Oh God.
Yeah, she doesn't like that.
Yeah, you joke about it, and the next thing you know, you actually do have one, and then you're
Okay,
like, oh,
okay,
shit, it's not April Fool's no more,
okay.
boy. Silly Billy gonna have a little Billy.
A little silly Billy.
Little silly Billy, yeah. Definitely not something to be joking about. David Decker says the Detroit Pistons have fired the head coach April Fools. That's not nice, bro.
No,
Jamie
that's
Bickerstaff,
not. Leave that alone.
he's the GOAT. He's the coach of the year. Sir from the Six says, I fake resigned from my job on this day 10 years ago. LOL. Bro, that's not funny either. You don't want to be doing that shit. I don't remember what my April Fool's joke was last year. I should probably look it up. But I think I did one where I just said I quit YouTube or some shit, and like people really thought it was real. I can't remember.
Yeah, you got to just go on Twitter later.
I'm gonna do it right now while we're live. Let me see.
Yeah, let's see.
But I don't care. I think April Fools are so stupid.
Look, guys, chat. If he goes on Twitter and you guys see that tweet, you need to not interact with it. You got to play dumb.
I don't even see it, bro. I be tweeting.
Cedric said he's unsubscribing to you. Ango, you're a bad news source.
Damn. April Fools. Did Vince McMahon buy out TNA today? No. Who said that? That's one thing. I will say I will never post April Fool's videos because I remember last year I even tweeted it out on 4/1/24. News accounts posting fake news on April 1st without saying it's an April Fool's is weird and dumb as fuck. And I hated that shit because I remember a lot of companies were like, "Oh, WWE bought AEW," and like,
"Oh yeah." Yeah, don't go spreading fake news.
Yeah, crazy. All right, you guys are getting out of hand in the chat. This is funny.
Bro. They are.
That's funny.
They're going insane.
I think that's it, man. I don't think we really have.
No, I think we covered all our bases today.
Yeah.
Got NXT tonight.
NXT tonight. Dynamite tomorrow.
I'm doing a watch along, so if you guys want to pull up for NXT,
make sure you guys check him out. Yeah, shout out to Billy. He'll be doing the watch along, and you guys should watch him do the watch along, so you guys can watch along with Billy while he does a watch along of WWE NXT.
David told me to get a haircut. David, you're insane.
When Billy hits 1 million subscribers.
That's fair. At 1 million subscribers, I'll cut my hair.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I will. 1 million subscribers.
Well,
you guys better hurry up and get on it.
Yeah, subscribe to Billy. Join him on his watch along tonight. Shout out to everybody who came through and dropped some love and showed some love and filled up our hype jar. And yeah, fun conversation. Billy, always. TKO, Ango, we are out.
Peace.